So welcome everybody to this webinar, which we've called Grow Your Consultancy Business and Become a Trusted Advisor with the GC Index. I just felt the title was a bit long to put on this slide. There's a mixed audience today, those that are new to the GC Index and those that have been with the GC Index for short or longer periods of time. For those that don't know me, I am Nathan Ott. I'm the Chief Polisher here at the GC Index and be your chair today. I'm also joined by my colleague, Simon Etherington. You'll be hearing from him later. He's Chief Strategist and Implementer here at the GC Index. We're also joined, thankfully, by three of our partners, three of our friends, as well as partners here. We've got Paul Marray, the CEO from 40C. Got Lucy Turner from the Game Changer Collective, who will be with us a bit later. And then we've got Mark Bilney, the MD for Organisational Effectiveness at Go Beyond. So we'll be hearing from them a little later, just so you're not listening to me all of the time and Simon. So what we're going to be covering in this session, I'm just going to give a bit of an overview of some of the top 5 common things we hear from consulting organisations. Been doing a lot of research into what do consulting organisations want when it comes to growing their business and becoming trusted advisors. I'm going to give an overview of what is the GC Index, just for those that are new to what is this GC Index. It's not going to be an extensive overview, but at least you can get a flavour of what this is all about. And then Simon is going to go through with you why is the data the GC Index derives important for consulting organisations, and also how you can start to use this data to grow your consulting businesses and become trusted advisors. And then towards the back end of the session, we're going to be listening to some real life examples from our wonderful GC partners, or a selection of our GC partners and friends. We do have a chat facility. I can't see it, but Andy is looking at that for us. So if you've got any questions or anything in the chat you want to know, pop it in there and we'll have some time to get to those. If we can't get to them on the session, then we'll make sure that we do respond subsequently anyway. So let's get into it. So we've been doing a lot of work around what are these themes for consulting organizations. So basically asking consulting organizations, what are the top 5 things on your mind when it comes to growing or building or scaling or just winning business with your firm. These consulting organizations range from 1 to people, coaches, business consultants, right through to small, mid-size and enterprise consulting organizations. So we try to cut the full gambit. What comes up, we want to deliver enhanced and extended value for our clients. I mean, that's what most consultants want to do, right? They want to have good work with good clients and deliver value. They want to become trusted advisors at the senior leadership team level. We hear that a lot. I'd love to be able to get better access, become a trusted advisor, really support my client at the highest level, whether that's a small business, whether it's a school, a large organization, a public body, whatever it may be. I would like to make sure that I'm seen as a trusted advisor at that senior level. I want to deliver more pull-through services. It takes a lot to win a new client, and we spend a lot of time winning new clients. And then how do we then extend our services, our pull-through services? Because, you know, they like us, but we can offer so much more. So how can we sort of drive that pull-through services to existing clients? We want to win more new clients. We want to win more business. Yeah. Okay. How do we win new clients? How do we, you know, that's what we're often, you know, often we deliver, we're always delivering. And then when we sort of take our eye off the ball for new work, and there's a bit of feast and famine there from delivery to new business development. So we always want to keep an eye out for new business. And we want to be more competitive. It's a very competitive world, the world of consultancy and delivering services. And so how can we deliver more differentiated service offerings? How can we stand out from the competition? So these are the top 5. They may or may not resonate with you, but what we're going to take you through today is how the GC Index can help with all of these. Okay, and that's what we're going to show you through some slideware now, of course, but then also hear from some real live examples as well. So what is the GC Index? What is it all about? Okay, so some of you will be very well versed with the GC Index, or some of you, this will be the first time you ever heard of this thing called the GC Index. So at the highest level, what the GC Index is our mission, is that it's the universal language that will empower more than 10% of humankind to positively impact their world. It's a grand statement, but the GC index is all about human energy. Okay, how can people best contribute to a role, team, organization, their world? How can they feel potent in their world? And this has really important implications across a broad gambit of areas. So yes, we're talking about business and consulting businesses today, but it can be through schools and education. We have a young people index focused for 11 to 18-year-olds. So how do we get kids running to education rather than running away from it, for example? Very big implications for public sector, for recruitment, sport, and it's fundamentally, it's any human being over the age of 11, okay, is what we're, so whether you're a Fortune CEO or a child in a developing country, you have a positive impact to make in your world. The GC index is a framework that helps unleash that. And that has really important implications when it comes to the world of business, of course. Okay, so that's the highest level. That's what, and we do this as an organization. So we launched in 2017 after a lot of research, and we have 3,000 plus clients and growing since 2017 in 52 countries. And the clients are extensive in terms of the range of organizations we work with. As I mentioned, it could be a charity, it could be a big business, small business, it could be a global organization, it could be a government body, charity, you name it. It's fundamentally any company or organization that's got people in it. But we can't do this on our own. Okay, so we do, the GC index is a wholly partner-centered business. Okay, so we do everything through partners, and our partners are our lifeblood. Okay, so we take our partner program extraordinarily seriously, constantly improving it and constantly ensuring we set our partners up for success. We currently have 270 GC partners around the world across those countries, and we need to make sure that all of our partners feel like they're the only one. Okay, so now you're going to hear from some of our partners later. So what is the GC index? I'm not going to go into too much detail, but just for those that are new to it, you can understand the GC index model. If we, as what the GC index is doing is measuring people's energy for impact. Where do they want to contribute to a role, team, organization, process, whatever? So it's energy. We're not measuring skills, we're not measuring competence, we're not measuring experience, we're not measuring personality. You might think this sounds like a personality talk. No, we'll come on to that in a moment. The GC is not measuring personality. Think of it as energy. Think of it as how people approach work, daily life. For those that want to know the constructs, you can read our research. It's underpinned by two core constructs of imagination and obsession. And you can see those. And that gives us 5 ways that people best want to make an impact. You'll see 2 blue and green quadrants above that middle line, strategist and game changer. It's about ideas. You know, above the line is about people want to make an impact through ideas. Game changers are different. Game changers largely unstructured ideas. They don't value arbitrary rules. Things pop into their head. Think possibilities. Okay. Game changers have an energy for just possibilities. Strategists, on the other hand, it's about plans. You know, it's ideas, but in a much more linear way. This doesn't mean that you're a McKinsey strategist or a Harvard MBA, by the way. It's a need for clarity and make sense of the world. Below the line, we have task-focused people, implementers and polishers. So implementers, just get on and do with it. Stop thinking, stop talking, let's get on with it. Yeah, I did it last week, it worked, let's carry on. Polishers, on the other hand, is much more, if a job's worth doing, it's worth doing properly. Polishers are about progress, improving things. Let's make things the best it can be. In the middle, you'll see a round blob, a round circle, the playmaker. So playmakers don't seek to dominate through ideas or through tasks, but through people, but not in what we've been accustomed to in the last 20, 30, 40 years. This is not about being socially skilled, emotionally intelligent, you know, politically correct, all these learned behaviors. Playmakers have a fundamental, fundamental belief that if we get the relationships right, everything else will follow, and have sustained energy for shared endeavor. So the GC index, for those that are new to it, think of it as a business cycle. Okay, so yes, we need people that can come up with new ideas. That's great, yeah, but if we don't make sense of them, No one's going to take them seriously, or if they don't fit with our plan, we're going to ignore them or disregard them as stupid. Yeah. Now, we might have a lovely plan, very elegant, but if we don't get on and do something with it, it just remains a lovely plan and nothing ever gets done. We need to make sure that things are done as best they can be, and we need to make sure that we're getting the best out of everyone. So the GC index drives individual, team, and organizational data where we can map people onto this model, how they are best energized to make an impact. Okay, so on that note, that's the GC index model. Okay, for those that are new to it, and sorry for the repetition for those that aren't, but what I'm going to do now is just hand you over to Simon and give you a next layer of why is this data important for consulting organizations and your clients.
Thank you very much, Nathan. And again, for those who don't know me, I'm Simon Etherington. I'm a director in the GC Index, and I'm our chief strategist and implementer. So I'm responsible for our go-to-market model, how we manage our partners globally, and how we become a global brand and make that happen. So let's have a look at this data then from the GC Index. Now, what we look at in terms of when we start looking at organizations is that, Nathan, if you can move the slide on, is that we can break down most organization, or any organization, into these three high-level areas: people, process, and technology. And indeed, we can go a little bit further than that, in such that actually any company is just a group of people making decisions. That's all it is. They're just making decisions about different things. So to be a successful business, we need to make the best business decisions. But to make the best decisions, we need to be informed by the best data. Now, in the technology space, we have got lots of data. We could argue technology is data. In the process space, we can write down our processes. We can understand methodologies. We've got some good, strong, hard data there. When it comes to people, though, it's a lot more difficult. We do have some data about our people. We know why they're, we know what skills they've got and what experience they've had, because they bring their CV with us or to us when they join us. But when it comes to making decisions about people on a daily basis, things like which salesperson to put on a particular account for best success, who to put into a project team, who to put into a production line, who to give accountability and responsibility to, all these decisions that we make daily, we don't really have much data to help us with those decisions. The only other data we have is personality data that Nathan mentioned earlier on. But if you ask any business leader, when was the last time that they made a decision on personality data, they'll look at you as if you're quite strange, because they don't do it that way. And in a way, they're quite right, because we want to remove personality out of the equation when we're making sensible discussions, because they get in the way. So we've got this gap. And when people apply the GC Index to their companies, we can use this data to make better decisions in all of the following 20 areas. Now, this is quite important because for two reasons. One is this is helping any of your clients that you work with, that if they profile their employees with the GC Index, the resultant data they can use to make better decisions in all of these areas. So it's one data point, but it's got multiple applications in the whole area of HR and talent, how we recruit people in the first place, develop them as leaders, organizational culture, that top right-hand section. How do we organize ourselves in a way that supports the desired culture, equality, diversity, inclusion, and well-being? That bottom right-hand space, change and transformation. We're constantly going through change. How do we do it successfully? Who should we put in the change team? Who's going to be our change agents or resistant to change? And then that top left-hand quadrant, how do we align everyone in the business to our business strategy and the business outcomes that we're going to try and deliver, either through talking to our clients and prospects through marketing and branding, or thinking about which companies to acquire or to merge with or to partner with. Now, that's one way this slide gets used. But the other slide, Nathan mentioned that we are a purely partner-centric business. So all of our partners are providing a service to their clients in one or more of these areas, whether they're a one-person business or whether they're a very large global organization. Now, if we move on from here then, we drill down it, when we're actually making people decisions as a leader or as a manager, we're actually looking at some data points. The first data point being, what skill has this person got to do this particular role or to be on this project team, or whatever it might be? What experience and relevant experience they got to be able to do it? What personality traits might they have? We use our gut feel as managers, or we might use personality tools to help us with that. But actually, what we're really thinking about as managers is what impact will this person have in the role? And the impact is going to vary depending on the role or depending on what it is that we're asking them to do. So all the GCNX is doing, very simply, the only thing that we're measuring is where do people want to make a business impact? Where do they have a natural inclination? Where do they feel most engaged and energized at making a business impact? Because if we know that, then we can help align them with the right cultures, the right roles, the right teams, the right leaders, the right tasks, where they feel most engaged and energized, and therefore they're happier in their role, which is the benefit to the individual, and they're more productive, which is the benefit to the company. So moving on here, then we then start looking and saying, how do we run this in an organization? How do you use this with your clients? Well, first of all, we get an individual view of a person. So where has an individual got the most energy in this business life cycle? Yeah. And where do they want to be engaged most in that cycle? So we want to put them in areas where they've got high energy and maybe not so much in roles where they've got a lower energy for that as well. Now, we get a score of 1 to 10 in each of the 5 areas, and that means that we've got 100,000 possible outcomes for each individual. So it's very individual in terms of this. Then we move on to teams, and we can see within a team, we'll see the individual people that make up the team, but then we can also aggregate that team. What does the team as an entity look like? Why is this team different to other teams? How is this team aligned to what we're asking it to do? When does this profile work well for this team and when doesn't it? And if we look at these 2 examples in practice, we've got 2 companies represented here. Both of them have got exec boards of about 10 people. And underneath that, they've each got their CEO. Now, what we're seeing here when we look at the team is it's basically saying that in that board A, 36% of the board have got a highest score of polisher. Only 7% have got a high score of strategist. And at the bottom, we've got the CEO, their individual profile. So we're looking at what they look like. Now, when we look at these 2 teams, we can see that they're different. We can see that on the left-hand side, one of them is much more around polishing, looking at the pursuit of excellence. How can we really drive up to be the best that we can be in the areas that we want to be leaders, if you like? And at the same time, that green game changer, 21.5%, they're looking at what new ideas, what leading edge elements can we bring into, where can we disrupt in our marketplace and become the best in that space. However, on the right-hand side, we've got a team that's looking much more at, getting things done and being very efficient at it and making sure we deliver results. And at the same time, improving our quality and looking at what we're looking to do around that space, but less around being able to think about new areas and new leading edge pieces. Now, the whole concept of the GCN is that we're just the data. The other, we represent about 20% of the conversation. The other 80% of the conversation is the context. Because now that we've got the context of these 2 companies, we can see that both of these are successful in where they're at, but they're doing different things. The board A is a small legal software company. They had 1 product, and we were introduced to them because there was an investment company looking to invest in them, and they asked us to profile the exec board. And when they saw the structure of the board, the first question they asked was, okay, what are your plans? Where are you going to spend our money? Yeah. How are you going to grow 3, 4, 5 years down the line? How are you going to execute on that as well? And the investment company did invest in them, and they decided to put a strategist implementer on the board to help, flesh out the board and make sure that it was more rounded in terms of what we needed to do and achieve. Those eagle-eyed amongst you may well have also seen that the CEO has got a very similar profile to the exec board. He had actually built a team in his own image. And we see that happening 60 to 70% of the time through recruitment. So that might be okay, or we can look and see how we need to do things differently. On the other side of the equation, the manufacturing company, leader in their field, but they identified that in the next 3 years, there was going to be new entrants to the marketplace, which could threaten that leadership role. So what did they need to do differently? That game changer, that green thing, what could we do? And they did 2 things. One, they looked inside the business for other game changers and built a small task force to come back and report back to the board about different things they could do and help inform the board. And they also got BCG in to come and help them think about new ways of doing things. But they profiled the consultants coming in because what they wanted was game-changing consultants, not implementing consultants, for example. So we just put it into practice, and then we go right up from teams into the organization level. And when we're measuring an organization, we're measuring its business culture. which is unique and defined as how decisions get made in the business, in the different parts of the business. But this is still a people view. When it really starts embedding in an organization is when you start looking and applying it to projects, programs, business processes. And this example is purely looking at how do we map out what we need to do successfully in a project in terms of business activity. And this is a very simple process. The partner here worked with the client where they said, what do you want to achieve in each of the quarters for each project? And once they knew that, they just asked them the question, okay, in your opinion, what business activities do you need to prioritize? Now, those business activities are all reflected in the business cycle represented by the GC index. So we end up with two things here. One is a high-level map that tells us what we need to do to be successful in any project, in any program, or in any business process. But secondly, it becomes a resource allocation tool. Who are we going to put in the project team now, basically, if this is what we're looking to do? Who are we going to give accountability and responsibility to? Who are going to be activities to? Where we're going to get the best out of this particular process. And finally, we can go up to the highest level in an organization. Every company has got something that's important to them. It could be a purpose, a mission statement, a vision statement. And what every company wants to do is align all the individual employees in the company with that statement. You know, we want everyone aligned. And that can be quite difficult. With the GC index, though, we can align all individuals with a statement, because all we're doing is finding out what does that statement mean to them and how can they influence it, or how can they impact it? How can they contribute to it as well? And here's a great example from Nike. We worked with them 4 years ago in their Asia region, and they had this maxim, it is our nature to innovate. That's their tagline. And of course, when you start decoding that into what does the process of innovation mean, then they had the 5 statements underneath it, which just maps straight across to the GC index. So think something no one else thinks is a game changer. Build something no one else builds is an implementer. So now all they did was profile their employees, and every employee knew, what does it is our nature to innovate mean to me? How can I contribute to it? You know, how can I be aligned to it? Now, a lot of our partners then easily work with their clients now, just even simply color coding their missions and statements based on the GC index, to give them a starting point to say, what are we trying to do? And then they'll work with them to get down to a level of what does it mean to each of these 5 proclivities. So that was a high-level view of the actual process and the data that we've got, Nathan.
Brilliant. Thank you, Simon. So thank you for that overview. So it's going to hear from one of our esteemed GC partners. All of our GC partners are esteemed, of course, but we have three here. Paul, are you there? Paul Marais?
I am, yes. Yeah, I'll take
Paul.
myself off mute. Yeah.
Thank you. You know, take yourself a video as well, providing, but it's okay. You don't have to.
Okay. Are you all ready for this? Oh, Zoom won't let me.
Why don't you?
Really?
Okay.
Hang on a second. FaceTime.
Try that.
Start my video. Oh, here we go.
There we found it. Hey, Paul. Nice to be here. Thank you. Very well, thank you. Thanks for being with us today. So just have a little segue. Do you mind introducing yourself, who you are, your company,
Sure.
and sort of your initial journey with the GC index?
Absolutely. So why don't I start with the GC index? So I don't know if you can see it on my video, but I'm a 10 game changer, an 8 strategist, a 1 playmaker, a 1 implementer, and a 5 polisher. So fairly extreme.
Yeah, you might need an implementer to flip your screen around. You're mirroring video at the moment.
Is it the wrong way around? I was just off a Teams call with a client, and it was the right way around. So this is when I come on next, it will be the right way around.
Brilliant. Sorry, Paul, for distracting you.
That's all right. So look, 4OC, we've been running for a bundle of years. We focus on what we call the public sector or public service delivery market. So nailed on public sector and private sector organizations that deliver services in that space. And our mission is to enable the public pound to be spent as wisely as possible. And to, at the moment, that's really important for us. In the last few years, like all of us, have been tested in how we can work in more collegiate ways and get more done for less money. And at 4OC, and there's about 60 of us, I suppose, at the moment, we're really interested within the organisation to build as much self-awareness as an individual, as a team, and as an organisation, and then to help our clients play to their strengths. And I've tried most of the, and forgive the, I don't mean this in any way disparaging, not towards the GC index, but I'm really interested in psychology and psychobabble generally. And Myers-Briggs worked for me. I kind of understood it. I could apply it. It kind of felt like it resonated. Most other things left me cold, because I was sitting there thinking, right, I'm going into a conversation. How do I use this tool to help me help someone else? And I think, am I red, green, or blue at the moment? Am I a plant? And I saw Nathan, a mate of ours, a joint friend of ours, as we all did during lockdown, got people onto different webinars to be cheeky and noisy. And Nathan and I were both on a call, and he was noisier and cheekier than me. And I immediately was texting him saying, who are you? What are you doing with this thing? Because it just sounds great. And it just absolutely cut to the core of what we were trying to do. It's not about how I'm sensing or feeling my way around the universe, or how my customers might be feeling and sensing their way around. And there's other stuff to do that. And there are people out there that are really great at helping people do that. This was about making a difference. How do I make an impact? How do I find that feeling when you're on fire? Oh, you know, and you don't even know you're in it, and you're clicking your fingers like, man, this is brilliant. So the example I always give, and I've built a company around it, if you ask me to write a 2-page document, I might get a little bit cheeky and then go and curl up in a ball in a corner and cry. I can write a 2-page document. It'll take me ages, take a lot of energy, and it won't be brilliant. You ask me to stand up in front of a crowd of 100 people and talk about stuff I have no idea about, I'll be running to the stage. And if more of us can play to our strengths, then actually you stop people trying to do something they think they need to do. Anyway, so we bought it, and we've wrapped it all the way around our company, Nathan, you know.
Yeah, and so just for our listeners, how has that helped your company both internally and externally with clients and the solutions you offer? Might help for some of the stuff you do with clients and how you've
let's take it in 2 parts then.
Yeah,
let's talk about clients then. One is, it's a really interesting conversation opener. Everyone wants to know what their profile is. I warn you now, pretty much everyone wants to be a game changer. So you have to manage that one when they're not, you know. But we've probably run, I mean, as you know, Nathan, we throw out a lot of gift links, which are brilliant, by the way, and I'm sure you're going to cover that as you go along.
Yeah.
We've thrown out a whole bundle of gift links, which are basically a free way of running a review with someone. And what it does, it takes away the pressure of you as a consultant trying to sell something to a potential client. It zooms in on who they are, where they are in this moment, and where they fit into this universe. So it's completely, in some ways, anti-selling. And if it works, and I don't think we've probably run over the last year, if you exclude the company, I don't know, we've probably run 100, 200. I've never had any negative feedback from any of them. I've had quite a few quite challenging conversations where people felt, well, I'm not too sure about this. Can we talk more about it? Which then gets you even deeper into a conversation about where someone's at, why they might be happy with that, what they're trying to do, which then allows you to talk to them about what they're trying to do in their role, in their team, in their organization, which is what we're all trying to do, right? You know, so it's an absolutely brilliant door opener. So I think in the first instance, what we're all trying to do is find new business.
Yeah.
And as you said in your openers, we're trying to deliver value to our customers, and we're trying to get there as quickly as possible and to have the biggest impact possible. So I absolutely, I probably ask my guys at least once a day to throw out a gift link to someone and then to think about it.
And you said the return, and there's all the return on that, and your solutions and stuff. You've got any examples of where that's?
Yeah,
again,
so
trying to help our audience understand.
Yeah, so I would say we're still evolving in this. So we bought this hook, line, and sinker probably about 15 months ago. And the first thing we did was we put about half a dozen people in the team to become GCologists. I'm a GCologist. which is great. And then we rinsed everyone in the organisation through so we could understand it before we started to play out with our client base. And I think the challenge is you've got to know how you want to use it. So as I say, we're really evolving this. So I was on a call an hour before this one, on a Teams call where I wasn't all flipped around inside out. And we were looking, we've got one particular client as an example. We'll give you a real live example right now. So a live prospect, please don't steal it off me because I've been working really hard for it. But a large telecoms organisation that are working in the public sector, and they're implementing Oracle HR. And we all, if anyone is, I mean, Simon knows all about ERPs because he solved the world with SAP before he fixed the world again with the GC index. But we all know that if you're not game ready for massive technological changes, if you don't have people ready to adopt new ways of working, you spend millions of pounds on the tin and the shiny technological things, but you don't invest in the people. So we've put a change framework together, exactly built on the slide that Simon was showing. You know, if you're at the beginning of a program, actually, just before you start actually doing anything, when you're trying to get people excited about it, you want game changers around the space to go, this is what's going to happen. You know, this is going to be amazing. You don't want me rocking up doing user acceptance testing because that would be the disaster, right? I'll just go, yep, great, I'm going to the pub. So we've put a framework, or we've built our existing framework, we've overlaid the GC index and its language sets and its tool sets on top of it to say, look, there's science here. It's not just what I say or what I feel. Here's my experience. And that's what, when you get into the GCI, it talks about the impact being your experience as well as your proclivities, right? And so our experience is hard won, as you can see from my face, you know, old and broken. But actually wrapping this around your offer, I find that really, as a game changer, I find it immensely exciting. So we're looking at how we take our products, how we take our services, and how we enrich them using this product. And as I say, we're at the beginning of our journey. We've been working with these guys, I say, for less than 18 months. And we've actually got I don't know if anyone else uses the Miro board world, but we've got this massive Miro board where we're building ideas out, saying, you know, how do we do this with our clients? And then internally, we've actually got a couple of people in the firm, fairly senior people, that were quite skeptical about it. You know, is it going to be another, well, I'm going to say it, another strength scope where we're going to sit there staring at the screen going, I'm not too sure how I'm going to use this to help me. One of the guys built a spreadsheet. So now whenever we're talking about a new initiative, we then talk about the individuals in the firm. It populates the spreadsheet with their score. We go, well, it's a bit heavy on the old polisher, isn't it? You know, so we use it for almost every key management process now. Obviously,
that's brilliant. Look, I could listen to you all day, and I'm sure other people could. We know I could listen to you all day because we've done it a couple of times. But that's been brilliant, and I think that's some great key takeaways for people here, existing and new to it. So, Paul, can you stick around? We'll probably have a bit of a chat later if that's all right. But
I'm going to flip my screen around. Yeah, I'm going to take some time to sort myself out.
Yeah, have a spin around. Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you so much. Brilliant. Thanks, Paul. Simon, I'm going to hand back to you. If you could just sort of, if that's okay.
Yeah, sure.
I see Lucy, you're with us. Great. We'll come to you in a bit. We've got Lucy here from Lucy and Mark as well. But I'm just going to move on. So how can you use the GC to grow your consulting business, be a trusted advisor? Paul was already given a bit of an insight to that, of course. But so you're going to talk a bit more about that and the GC partner model as well, Simon, right?
Yeah, I will. Just before I get into it, and just on Paul's point, recently we had a retail client in the US that was talking to you, Nathan, wasn't he, about their ERP project. And Paul mentioned embedding ERP projects into organizations. Well, this gentleman, new change director, came on board and he had a look at everything that we were doing. And after the conversation with us, he said, oh my goodness me, if we'd had the GC index from the beginning, we probably wouldn't have had to just cancel our ERP project to the tune of, how much was it?
$800,000.
$800,000 he had to sink.
Yeah.
So again, we're starting to look at real ROI around this.
Well, and that comes, we've got loads of examples. I know Barbara is on the call, she's still on, but she'll always say, if you don't have this data with your clients, you're starting in the middle of the movie. And that's just a numerical example of it, really. So yeah, that's great. But on with time, I do want to get through this. I also want to hear from Mark and Lucy as well and get any questions.
Okay, next slide.
Sorry, yeah, thank you for reminding me. There we go, cheers.
Right, so how do we use this then? Well, all of our partners are very different, and they're all providing different services to their clients. And it's any of those 20 areas that we talked about that our partners are doing services. And sometimes a partner might deliver that as what we might call a point solution. So it could be just one key role recruitment that they're using it for. It could be a recruitment company helping the client with a key role, or it could be another type of partner helping them with business process improvement or a strategy workshop or whatever it might be. So you can either use it just like that, but a lot of our partners then work into, actually, we want to help you with transformational change. And that transformational change could be anything along the lines of, how do we embed an ERP implementation? How do we do an M&A integration so that we make sure that we get a successful integration piece? How do we do a culture transformation or a change management project? And then finally, we end up with clients and partners working together where they've done a large number of people in the business. We've all got this data now about those individuals. How do we use all of that to make better decisions right across the business? And we start using it for all of our recruitment, for example, and making sure we're aligning people with the right roles. And at this point, a company can use our kite mark called a GC People company to tell the outside world that we're different. We're aligning people to roles where they feel most engaged and energized and therefore happier. Why don't you come and work for us? So let's see how we get to there as a partner. We have this model, we call it the 3 steps. It's not actually our model. We saw a lot of our partners getting a lot of success by rolling out the GCNX across some very large companies, even if they're quite small businesses themselves. And so we went and had a chat with them and said, look, how are you doing this? What are you doing differently? And this then built up this 3-step model, which we now use as one way of using the GCNX. You don't have to use it all the time, but let's just take you through this. The first one, as Paul was talking about, was gift links. So these are free links to use with your clients. You can have an unlimited number of gift links to help you get into clients. It's one per company, but we're using it ideally at the C level. And once we use this and we take them through their own profile, they see the data, they understand the power of that data. And we say to them, look, why don't you do this with your leadership team? So we then end up with a leadership team workshop. Now that's a very specific workshop, which we would recommend that any partner does before they do any of their normal types of service engagements. Because what it does is 2 things. One, the leadership team buy into the language of the GCNX, the data, how they can use it, how they can use it to make better decisions across the whole business. But secondly, at the end of the workshop, we'll go around the table and we'll ask each member of the team, where do you think you could use this data in your part of the business? So the sales director might pop up and say, well, I could use this to align all of my salespeople to the right accounts so we get better outcomes from our sales. A manufacturing department could say, well, I could use this to help us introduce lean into our manufacturing process. HR might say, well, I can use this for all of our recruitment across the business. So you get a long list of areas. And this is where we really start to see the power of this, because the client is telling you where they might want to use this. And that either aligns to all of your services, or you might not provide services in those areas, but that's okay. Let's say you're not a recruitment company. You could still say to the HR director, look, why don't you get your in-house recruitment team accredited as GCologists, in-house GCologists in a client, and then they can be using it and they're still buying product from you. So we're creating more revenue streams as well. And then finally, we saw some of our partners who were taking it one step further. They're saying, well, look, we've done this workshop now. We know what you look like individually. We know what you look like as a team, but how aligned are you to the rest of the business? Why don't we do a quick snapshot of the organization? Now, this is another product called the Organizational Impact Map. And the way it works is, let's say I've got 5,000 people. All 5,000 people will take the GC Index, but we don't provide any individual personalized reports at this point. What we do, though, is we break down the 5,000 people into the organizational structure. So it could be, let's say, 5 divisions of 1,000 people each, and all the departments and teams within them. And the client then gets, as a report, is a breakdown of the aggregates within each of those business entities or teams, etc. And they see all the individual profiles inside them, but they're all anonymous. Now, this then helps the client have a huge amount of data about their business, how it's aligned, how it's not aligned, which departments are doing well, where business processes aren't working, and so forth. But it helps you as a consultant then start planning, where do we start first? Where do you want to roll this out? Which business challenge do you want to solve first? And when you get into a team and individual discussion, then the client just pays to have the profile. We've already got the data, and just pay to have the profile so that you can work with them and their teams in progressing and seeing how you can work with it in the different areas. Now, there's loads of examples of this. I'll just pick on one of these for time's sake, but one of our partners is a single person organization. They happen to be a procurement consultant, and they use the gift link with the procurement director at Danske Bank. And the procurement director liked it, he thought this is fantastic data. And he then said, let's do a leadership team workshop for the procurement director and his direct team. So that went well. And the outcome of that was they built the GC Index data into their procurement strategy, their global procurement strategy. So when they had a town hall meeting of 300 people, they had the GC Index on the slides. This is how we are going to engage in the best way with the rest of the organization and with our supply chain. It then also led to 14 additional team workshops for the partner. And recently we've supported the partner and the client in terms of applying this to Danske Bank and one of their key suppliers that supplies them facilities management for all of their banks and offices. And where we've mapped both the Danske Bank team and the supplier team and saying, how do we get the best out of it? Which has resulted in then recognizing that the supplier team was more game changer than Danske Bank. Danske Bank really did value that new ideas, new ways of doing things, but the contract didn't align with it. So now they're going to change the contract to align with it as well. So that's how we start seeing it. So just a summary of all of this, the real advantage for our partners is that one, we can help them get in to C-level. So help them to win in just using that gift link process, helping them differentiate their services and increasing win rates. The second thing, when you do a leadership team workshop, you become the trusted advisor at that leadership team level with unique insight. And they're coming to you as a consultancy organization to say, how do we use this right across our business? Also, as part of that workshop, they're telling you where they want to use it. Right? You've got a long list of areas. They're telling you this is where we can, and that's going to only help you increase the amount of services and follow through services that you can provide to them as well. It's also creating a competitive moat around that client, because now they only really want to deal with organizations that understand and use this language, which is only GC partners. And finally, especially if they've got in-house GCologists, they're constantly coming up with different ways of using this data. So they're constantly coming to you either to understand, can you help them with those services, or they want to buy more product from you to use it as well. So you've got an ongoing relationship. So we end up with 3 revenue streams. The first revenue stream is your pure consulting business. Whatever your consulting is, whether it's leadership coaching, whether it's change management, whether it's culture, whether it's strategy workshop, whatever it might be in those 20 areas, that's your core consulting piece. And you're embedding the GC Index in it to make sure it's differentiated. We're getting different results and better results, and it's also opening the doors. Now, the problem with all of our partners is that they are limited by their time. So we've come up with 2 other revenue streams that aren't limited by time. The first one is repeatable product. So the HR director says, let's use it for all our recruitment. You're not a recruitment partner, so they've got in-house recruitment and they're just buying product from you. They're just coming to you and saying, look, we need another 100 links. Now that's just an admin engagement. You're just placing, they're placing an order on you and they're placing an order on us. But that's repeatable. You'll be happening every year for multiple clients. So it's supporting your services business as well. And then finally, a very different context is our GC Partner Introduction Program. So this is where any of our partners can introduce another company, which if that company becomes a partner, they will then earn 10% of whatever the new partner buys from us for the next 10 years. So it's a different revenue stream as well, very passive in that context. So I think we've gone through those, Nathan. Let's get back to...
We have. Let's get back to our partners. You don't mind putting your cameras on. So we've got Luce. You've heard from Paul, who's now got his background the right way around, which is great. We've got Lucy Turner from the Game Changer Collective, and we have Mark Bilney from Go Beyond. Lucy, you with us?
I'm definitely. Oh no, it was just saying he couldn't start your video because the host has stopped it, but you've unstopped.
There you go.
No, I think Andy's the host. He might have trust issues. We don't know. Well, welcome. Look, we've heard from Paul. Mark or Lucy, I don't mind. Do you want to go, Lucy? Do you want to tell us who you are and a bit about your company, your GC Index journey, and anything you'd like to add?
I certainly can. May is a very relevant month for me because it was almost a year to the day that I first took my GC Index profile.
Anniversary. We'll send you a cake.
Thank you. I feel it because it has changed my game. There's no question. Very quick story. So yeah, I did my profile on the Monday, had my coaching session on the Tuesday, and by the Friday, my daughter was commenting that I'd changed. And on that, I thought, there's definitely something in this. So I guess run a resourcing and outsourcing business in the healthcare space for nearly 20 years. And this was very much a pull towards being able to do some really, really great work. So we set up last summer, had a few months of planning and kicked off in November. There are 5 of us in the Game Changer Collective. Our predominant market is pharmaceuticals and healthcare. And we just cannot speak highly enough about the support that we've had from certainly the people on this call and Dr. John and Nicole and everyone at the team in terms of enabling us to just do what we do best.
Also, sorry, Lucy, were you going to say some more? Sorry, I spoke over you.
I guess whenever I'm talking about the GC Index, which I do to anyone that will listen to me anywhere, on trains, buses, planes, anywhere, for me, the very simple fact, it's a diagnostic, but it's the best diagnostic you can have because it's measurable, data, evidence-based, cutting edge, all of the stuff that clients want to hear. But it does to exactly what you said there, Nathan. It makes you sticky, it creates a moat. The opportunities are never ending in the clients, and that's after, what are we now, probably 7 months into working with some clients on projects. So it's just magic. It's magic dust.
And just because we are, this is about, I'll come to you in a second, Mark, but to finish with you, Lucy, just because we are talking about growing your consultancy and becoming a trusted advisor, are you able to share, you had some targets when you set up your business, you're able to share the high level targets and where you got to? Do you mind? I know look, this is all unscripted. You can see my profile, folks. I'm not. We've got no plans here. So, do you mind? Just say I'm not. None of your business, Nathan. I'm not telling you if you don't mind.
I'll only tell you because Nathan and I are 10 polishers, the pair of us. So we set a very simple target, which was to make sure that we opened 6 clients in the first 6 months. And we had 9 up and running within month 4, month 5. And at that point, we actually decided to stop BD purely because we wanted to make sure what we delivered was of really, really sound quality. And all the stuff that I sold to my clients that I've worked with for 20 years was on lots of great promises of anticipation of what the GC Index could do. And the beauty is we're now having conversations. My favorite one, very quick story. I had a vice president 2 weeks ago who said, based on this data, I've got the confidence to promote someone into a very, very sensitive, high-level role that I just would not do without this data. So thank you. And that's when you start hearing the stuff that you say from a BD perspective and the promises you make come true. But BD's back on now, and the gift link process, I mean, it could not work more smoothly. It's so powerful.
Thank you. I'm going to come back to you and Paul in a moment, and probably Mark. We do have a question that someone's asked. I can't see the chat, but Andy's let me know around. Does GC help you differentiate yourselves? So if you kind of think about that question, and but Mark, thanks for joining us. And
hi, good to see everyone.
Background the right way around, fantastic. Thank you. Yeah,
polisher.
So please introduce yourself and just give us a view of your GC Index journey for introduce your company, who you are.
Sure. So Mark Bilney, good to see so many people on the call. I'm MD of Organisational Excellence, which is a bit of a mouthful, but it's the practice within Go Beyond Partners that specialises in the people side of change and transformation. So my practice does all the training, coaching, cultural change, cultural transformation elements of what we do. And as a consultancy, we are what I would call a customer journey, customer excellence specialist. So it's all about making sure that it's as easy as possible for your customers to do business with you. That's kind of what we do. And as I say, we look after the people side, make sure it's not all about technology. It was interesting actually, because I'm a polisher, a strategist polisher, and Paul obviously is a game changer, you know, very sort of off the cuff. And I'm sitting here thinking, yeah, I wrote a bit of a script here to make sure I didn't miss anything, because although I'm not a perfectionist, you know, the polisher in me does like to get it right. But I think the other interesting thing is I'm quite low on game changers. So the way that manifests itself for me is I know I'm not an innovator necessarily. I don't come out with the great ideas, but what happens in the room is someone will come out with an idea, and after I've thought, damn, why didn't I think of that? Yeah. My next thought is generally, oh, and if we did that, we could do. And I go off on the polisher journey of, you know, of sort of improving and working on it. And that's kind of how it manifests itself with me.
And for you, Mark, because obviously go beyond quite a large consultancy and all, work with big clients. But how's the GCN helped you within your services, clients, propositions internally, just so people can get a flavour of how it's worked for you?
Well, it sounds a bit cheesy, but you could say it has been game changing in its own right. You know, what we needed was something that opened doors, something that gave us an opportunity to have a discussion, particularly at a senior level with people. And so within our key accounts, you know, they may well have had an introduction to somebody, but in order to find out and really get to the nub of their problems and issues, they needed an opportunity to do that. And the game changer has afforded that opportunity for us. You know, we can go in and we can sit with a board and we can use this as a tool. As Paul said, everybody likes to know what their own profile is. So, you know, the GIF link with the first person on the board that you've got contact with generates the interest to then have the conversation with the rest of the senior team. You know, and we've seen a couple of examples. One is a big financial services organization that we're working with at the moment, one of the big banks, with their collections area. So the director of collections was interested in her own profile. Off the back of that, she then said, I want you to do my team and come and do a workshop for me. So we did the direct reports, and off the back of that workshop, she then said, yeah, no, we need to do the whole team. So we need to get all of the next level down effectively. So we had a full day, like a strategy workshop with them, using Game Changer to help them understand how they could best attack the problems and things that they've got. And it was great. And as a consultant, selfishly, the selfish bit is it also produced this great big shopping list of issues and challenges that they were trying to solve that I was able to then give to the key account director and say, here you go. And they were able to sit down and say, we can help you with, you know, X, Y, and Z. So it's been really powerful. Yeah,
and that's the shopping list that Simon refers to from the team impact workshop. And you had a client which actually rolled it out across the whole business as well, didn't you? Which is
that was an interesting one. So it was one of the largest pension funds, private pension funds in the UK, and during lockdown, they asked us to help them with teaching people how to be remote leaders. You know, how do we lead remote teams? And we wanted to build the Game Changer in because we thought that was an important part of understanding. They were really reluctant to do that in the first instance. They just saw it as another psychometric, you know, another one of those, and we've done loads. But in the end, they trusted us and we went for it. And we had about 40 people on that first program. Now, 2.5 years down the line, everyone in the business has been through the Game Changer, and they've got, I think it's 8 of their own GCologists. And I believe they're working with you direct now, Nathan, actually, which is great, you know, on the next steps.
Yeah, they're not working through supporting us and yourself, but yeah, through mainly from a data perspective, they want the data, and of course they'll come back to you for any other sort of services that they would need around that. But yeah, it's gone through the whole gambit of the organisation. And congratulations on that solution. That was one you created that was part of the Management Consultancy Association's COVID relief kit, wasn't it? It was the remote working solution. Yeah. So
it was a rapid requirement for a lot of clients, I think, but it was really successful.
That's brilliant. Thanks, Scott. And look, I hope the audience realizes none of this has been scripted. No one's been given a script. Mark has written his own script, obviously, because
I'm not using it though. Because
that's it, exactly, no script. So this is just the way it is, right? Yeah. So I do have a couple of questions. The first one that came through, it was originally for you, Paul, but others do feel free to jump in. Has the GCN given you a USP or an advantage over your competitors to win business or expand work with an existing client? You can say no, by the way.
Yeah, I think it's probably a little bit more subtle than that. Mm-hmm. So probably like, with Mark and Lucy, you know, our business is based on trust and relationships, and that takes time. And what the index does initially, it allows you to accelerate the conversation. And if you were doing that through, as I say, a strength scope, it gets very messy. This really quickly, we find, allows you to, for the individual you're talking to center on them, where they're at, and then, as you just described, Mark, the problems that they might be faced with. You do end up with a shopping list, you know, at its best, which is brilliant, and it's contextualized. So what it does, for me, it's an accelerator. And you can point to something that says, this isn't us. This isn't us as consultants trying to flog you something. Here's something that can help you. And if we do no more business together, you as an individual will be enriched by this process, right? And actually, that's what we love, because it just cuts through it really quickly.
Brilliant, thank you. And anyone else like to comment on that question about being a differentiator before I move on to the next one?
Yes, certainly from our perspective, I think one of the things that's interesting is the fact that it uses business language.
Yeah.
And I think people can relate to that. You know, and we had it. I've been running training the last couple of days myself, and people were talking about Myers-Briggs and SDI, but nobody could remember what the language was that they were using. I had someone next to me was saying, "Oh yeah, I did Myers-Briggs. I was red." And I'm, you know, scratching my head. And so I think the language is so much more relatable for people that, you know, Paul has said it's really important to build trust, and you're talking in a language they understand. That helps with the trust straight away.
Yeah.
Brilliant. I've got three more questions at least. We've got 4 more minutes, so, but I mean, I'd sit and chat all day. We'll just get a gin and tonic and carry on. But the point is Lucy, one for you then. So question is, how quickly do potential clients see the relevance of the GC index and what it can do for their organization? So it's those aha moments, I think there. How quickly do the aha moments come for clients?
I guess it's always that distribution curve, isn't it? Because you'll have that whole cohort that on the call are already game changing and bouncing ideas off. And then you'll have the cohort who phoned. I had one yesterday. She had her profile done probably 6 weeks ago, and she's reflected a mold, and all of a sudden she's like, oh crikey, yeah, I need you in, and I need you in quick. So I think it depends who you're working with and what their style is, but absolutely in terms of the conversation and people's ability to make the conclusions themselves rather than you having to drag it out of them, it is hugely powerful.
Yeah, and I think everyone else has said they get it quickly. Another question is probably for us, I suppose. The GC is being used in organisations worldwide. Are these organisations SME, medium, or large organisations, or a mix? It's a huge mix. Yeah. I mean, I don't know if you guys have got a diversity in your own client portfolio.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah.
We've got some examples of what that diversity looks like. I mean, I know, Paul, you mentioned public sector, private sector.
Yeah, well, actually, we're doing something at the moment with the equivalent of the NHS in Ireland, the HSE. And again, it was another call just before this call, before that call. And we're doing a culture review because they had a massive state nation hack a few years ago. And we've got some really senior people. Actually, one I haven't told you about today, but one just below the minister for something or the other. I don't know who they are. You know, so at that level, it could be at a state level that people are interested in how this could help them. But equally, you know, we've tried it in other organisations, and sometimes the organisation isn't mature enough to embrace how they have become more self-aware and can develop. But that individual will walk away, and if they're not in that organisation, they'll go somewhere else, and then they'll adopt it when it's appropriate. So it works, and it's always a long game with the business that we do. And I'm sure it's the same with, you know, with Mark and Lucy, that when you're building those relationships, it might be an immediate bang, and that's incredible, or a really slow, long play, but you know you've planted something that's going to work.
And look, we're coming up to the end of time, but I think that the point of that, the initial statement of the GC index is it's whether you're a CEO of a fortune company or a child in a developing country, you've got an impact to make. So it doesn't matter how big your organization is, what your organization is, it's fundamental human impact. Lucy, Mark, people are new to the GC index, have not used, they're sort of not GC partners, it's their first time exposure to it. Any couple of parting words for them, maybe? Again, an unscripted question.
Ask all the time. I send emails to these guys that God knows what time, and the answer is always yes somehow, or speak to you next week and we'll sort it. Just amazing support. So just ask, because you never know, and we ask the most bizarre questions. And on that note,
that it's not just me.
19 years of banging my head against the wall trying to go global. Last month we did it off to Denmark, and we're off to Germany next week.
Hey, well done.
Well done. Brilliant. Mark, from you, before we let everyone go.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. Same thing. You know, the support is huge and always there. I moved a year ago, so now, unfortunately, I used to bump into Dr. John on the station platform at Swindon all the time, and we'd have a coffee on the train, which was great. I miss those, but the support is always there, and I think we probably don't even scrape 20% of the capabilities of this. I think that it's that always exploring, always seeing where there's an opportunity. It is there. It just, and it can take, as Simon and Nathan will attest, it can take a little bit of time to get people on board, including your own business. That's why my hair is this color. But
at least you've got hair.
Yeah, well, there is that, yeah. But when it lands, it's worth it, and people, it's great when you see the light bulb moment.